some of the local pastors and preachers of the area, and the room just blew up in applause. Every person in there jumped to their feet and actually continued to clap until he finally had to stop them from clapping, you know. And I certainly haven't agreed with everything that he's done, but, you know, he is standing up on this one. And, you know, and I mean, he was very plain to the crowd. He said, you know, I've had a job here for 29 years. Nobody's threatened my job. But I want to go ahead and say thanks to the community, because this may be the end of my job, because I'm not going to allow the students' right to speak to be squelched in all of this.
Well, we spoke to him later,
right,
and he also said they would be revisiting the elections policy, with the SGA elections policy, and that he wasn't sure why it had been actually set down that way, but that he was ready to hold new elections. Of course, we don't know as of this taping whether that will happen this week, but he was ready to pull out desks and hold new elections and maybe try to slip those kids in.
Yeah, well, you know, my thing is, let's forget about the prayer issue for a minute. These kids deserve to be heard.
Yes, I agree.
They have done their time. They have held their grades. They have participated in activities. They have been great representatives of, not only, in Mary's case, a representative of Pace High School, but a representative of Santa Rosa County.
Yes.
And it's not right. You know, I'm the guy who thinks all the laws are to be thrown away and we should start back at the Constitution again. The freedom of speech is very serious with me. I mean, I have had, personally, you were there when I've had to stand up to county commissioners, especially former Commissioner John Broxton, and say, you know, we're not going to tolerate this. You know, you're not going to tell me to sit down. And so, you know, it was just exciting to see all of those kids. Gives me hope for the next generation. Obviously, the adults at this party, and I speak of the school board and the superintendent and their attorney, they need to do their homework a little bit better. We wouldn't...
Could have been avoided.
Well, I think a great deal of it could have been avoided, absolutely. And, you know, and that's what I said a month and a half ago. Bring an outside person in. They can come on school campus. They can use the auditorium or whatever, the biggest room there. Invite all the kids in there. Had they, a month and a half ago, flashed up on the wall, like they did at Pace Assembly, the rules of the road, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Well, and I would certainly hope that that delay wasn't due to the fact that some of those adults wanted to be sort of in there manipulating and...
I don't know, you know, I don't know what, I'm not going to propose to know what the motives of someone might or might not be.
Because it was the kids who ended up suffering for it.
It is my belief that the 250 or 300 high school students that was in that audience, they now have the resources in their hand. They know where to go. One of the students, matter of fact, said he had already contacted one of the strongest Christian attorneys in the country over this matter. It is my belief that this year's senior class in Santa Rosa County is going to correct this. They're going to put pressure on the school board and the superintendent that this doesn't happen again. And I think that's the thing that should happen.
Yeah, and I don't know why it would happen. I don't know why adults would feel like they have to participate in something that's a kid-oriented, a student-oriented activity. My experience as a parent, and I'm sure yours is the same, is if a teenager has something they want to say, they're going to say it.
Right.
They don't need to be coached from the sidelines and have a script written for them and stuff like that.
I certainly have a tendency to agree with you on that. My thing is, and just what you said, we have the high schools that are affected by this. We have 2 people at each high school that are going to pay the price for it.
Right.
My hope is, and I hope that this show reaches some folks, that they will revote before graduation. But we're getting very close. And you know, I just want to say in closing, you know, it was also very good to see. That wasn't, and I want everyone to understand, that wasn't a Pace Assembly of God production there. There was Baptist ministers there, Methodist ministers. There was several local ministers that were there. And the one thing that I've always believed is we need to quit arguing about which road your Jesus walked down. We all need to agree on the fact that there is a supreme being, and that we ought to ask help from time to time.
Well, no, we're not required to agree on that.
Right.
That's the point.
We should agree. It should be an easy argument that we should ask for help and all. And it was very good. I appreciate the fact that so many ministers were there. And it was just it was a very uplifting thing for me to see all that. Certainly there will be more to this story. I think there's some big decisions potentially that the school board may make after this show is in the can.
And I just hope that the adults and the school officials involved are going to make those decisions in accordance with what benefits the students and not with perhaps what benefits my ability to get in front of a television camera.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I also, we promised you from time to time that we were going to get out the reference aid for domestic extremism lexicon that was produced by your government. They got a list that they want to watch people.
So this is a guide for our viewers so that they'll know perhaps if they're a terrorist, right, and also if they spot one on the street. Right.
That way for you folks at home that are watching our show, you can go ahead and keep a running total of how many categories you fall into, and since this week's show was the prayer issue in school and all this, I thought I would read one to you. This one is Christian identity. A racist religious philosophy that maintains non-Jewish whites are God's chosen people. That one, I think there's plenty of folks that are non-Jewish that believe God is their Savior. So
I was really floored when I saw that. I thought it's in a way funny, but maybe not if you're.
Yeah, well,
if you're falling into that category.
I guess it will be funny until the black helicopters land at your church building and start putting people in handcuffs.
It's interesting that there are no other religions that one would associate with extremism on that list.
Yeah, never.
I can think of a couple in particular.
Well, I didn't
expect to see there
in here anywhere. So but ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Christian and you believe that you are God's chosen person or group, you could be a terrorist. It's right here in the book, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, they went through a lot of trouble to identify you. So it's right there. Keep track. I will guarantee you will fit more than one category as a terrorist. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed this. Like I said, it was a very good night, I think, for the county. I think there were a lot of positive things expressed at that meeting, and we hope that you will tune in and take a stronger interest. There certainly was a big interest in Pace, Florida, at that meeting.
Yes.
So I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Good night.